Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being with us this evening. I am calling to order this regular schedule council meeting of Monday, June 28th, 2021 to order. For everyone who's viewing us online, you could watch this meeting via Facebook Live, Hartford Public Access TV, Channel 96, which is Comcast, or through Frontiers Channel 6032. With that said, let's get started. Mr. Town Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilwoman Bermudez.
Present.
Councilman Clark.
Here.
Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilman LeBron. Councilman LeBron.
Present.
Councilman Mitchum.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and now our Town Clerk will lead us on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we suspend the rules to add on to the agenda, which will be item number 27, which is a resolution that Upper Albany, Northeast, and Blue Hills Revitalization Zone Committees, in partnership with the Artists Collective and Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner, intends to have a cultural arts fest on Saturday, July 24th, 2021.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron. Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilman Gale, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Madam President, and good evening to everyone. This evening, it's my extreme pleasure and good fortune to bring before City Council our duly appointed Poet Laureate, the first ever Poet Laureate in the city of Hartford, now in, I believe, his third term with us. And I'll let him give you his website, but for those interested, check it out. There's some fascinating tidbits there, and I think I don't think I'm understating it when I say that Frederick Douglass Knowles II here has been an exemplary Poet Laureate, performing in many, many venues, both in Hartford and out of Hartford, and spreading the word of poetry, good cheer, and thoughtfulness wherever he goes. So with that, I turn it over to our Poet Laureate, Frederick Douglass Knowles II. You're on mute.
Thank you, John, and thank you, City Council, for having me this evening. I just wanted to give you guys an update of my appointment and my duties and responsibilities, and to ascertain that I am doing the best that I can under the circumstances to uphold the honor of being Hartford's Poet Laureate, and being the first one as well. So with that being said, I just wanted to inform the City Council of my recent updates. I actually, I had an attachment, but I know it's hard to attach with Zoom and so forth. So I'll just give you a brief summary. So as to date, as of June 26, June 23rd was my last event at Sunken Garden Poetry Festival, their youth poetry Youth Voices Summit evening. And that event marked my 117th event as Hartford Poet Laureate. So over the past 2.5 years, I've had the honor and the privilege to connect and vibe with people throughout the state of Connecticut, not only Hartford, primarily Hartford, but not only Hartford, 117 events. And 2 of those events recently, one was a video release by Hartford Foundation on the unfortunate of police brutality here in American society. I don't think I'm able to share that video, but if you go to my website, which I put in the chat, you'll see there's 3 videos, and the one I am referring to is second. And the third one, I was fortunate to be approached by Connecticut Creative Futures to feature on Fox News live on early June, I think like June, I have the calendar right here and everything, like June 3rd or June 4th, to help promote creative futures for CT youth in the artistry. So I just want to touch base. I know it's been some time, of course, with COVID and so forth. And I just want to let all of you know that you appointed me nearly almost 3 years ago. It's been 2.5 years. And that I've been on the grind doing what you appointed me to do. I appreciate you. I'm gonna keep grinding until the wheels fall off. So again, you can just check the website, frederickdouglassknows.com for the videos and so forth. And then I can also send my CV with all the events and so forth that I've been doing, and the Beatlit workshops that I've been conducting with the youth, young adults and adults throughout the greater Hartford area and throughout Connecticut also too as well. So I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. I thank you, and I'm gonna keep grinding.
Quick poem or no?
Yeah. Okay. I was hoping to show the video, so I would have to do a poem, but I guess I can definitely do it. So. All right, so this one is, so the video with Hartford Foundation is a snippet of this particular poem. This poem is called Reverse Psychology, A Year in the Diary of the Disenfranchised. And I just took into this whole year of us being in quarantine and so much mixed messages that we were getting, or confusing messages, or one day it's this, next day it's something else, and just a lot of uncertainty. And I think that really, I know it affected a lot of our mental health. And so I wrote this poem, and so bear with me, it's fairly new. It's Reverse Psychology, A Year in the Diary of the Disenfranchised. Journal entry 19. The billboard said, "Dogs spread love, not COVID." The CDC disagrees. A tiger can catch the virus while the clown's in town. Admission is free, as long as you stand 6 feet apart, cover your mouth, don't touch your face, wash your hands, make an appointment to get a test, but get a doctor's note beforehand. Quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. Stand 6 feet apart, or maybe 9. Wear a N95 mask. Use any face covering. Don't touch your hands. Get a shot, another shot, not the Johnson & Johnson. Vaccinate, blood clots get reinfected. Wash your hands. It doesn't spread on the surface anymore. Quarantine for 10 days. Make it a year. Wear a mask. Take it off to eat. Put it back on after a sip. Open the restaurants, close the clubs, order a drink, but buy food first. Close the border, let England through. Blame it on Kung flu. Karate chop an Asian because it came from a bat or a lab, or an animal eaten by a bat outside a Chinese lab. Theorize the facts. Broadcast the death toll, then don't. Treat unemployment like welfare. Deny accountability. Monitor symptoms. asymptomatic, distrust family, doubt neighbors, disregard essential workers, volunteer status, rig the election, suppress the vote, pout about the presidency, be patriotic, storm the Capitol, kill a cop, and expect clemency. Journal entry 187. Routine traffic stop, hands out the window, get out the car, hands in the air, get on the ground, lay on the hood, get on your knees. Routine traffic stop. Thought it was a gun, thought it was my gun. It was dark, he was dark. Thought he was robbing a construction site. Thought it was my house. Thought Breonna Taylor's house was the right house. Wrong house. He was running, about to run. Lying on his back, no, his stomach. Thought he could hold his breath for 569. Thought George Floyd could hold his breath for 569 seconds. He was high, sold cigarettes, had a legal firearm in the glove compartment. Thought his dark complexion made him look guilty. If Chauvin was found innocent, the fire inside the marginalized would have burned like Watts, Newark, Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Philly, Miami, Harlem, Pittsburgh, DC. Thought we dangle from your revolving rope while you reload. Thought Sandra Bland hung herself. Thought his army uniform was invisible, that Skittles were criminal. Thought it was me. It could have been me. You wanted to be me, but not him. Journal entry 357. AR-15, an innocent crowd. Arrested, taken into custody. Thought he was thirsty. Gave him some water, an ice pack, a Band-Aid, due process. Thought he was thirsty, gave him an ice pack, a Band-Aid, due process, a GoFundMe, a new NRA card, an alibi, a mental health worker, empathy on the 8 o'clock news. Gave him a cigarette, a Coke, a bag of Skittles, innocent till proven guilty. Murder weapon bloodied in hand. A confused, lonely, depressed, misguided, lonely, opioid, adolescent, sex addict sentenced to rehabilitation. A favorite failure of a forefather whose grandfather bombed church-filled Black babies blatantly, pled inhumanity, chose inhumanity, pled insanity, then placed his hand on the good book while a jury of his peers hung themselves. Journal entry 360. Pathology of oppression. Psychological, Freudian, philosophical weapon aimed at our id. A super ego suffocating cape grounded into kryptonite coffee. Stimulus checks keep us in check. The economy ain't economical yet. Cognition in a cog. London lost in a fog. 225 million jobs. Karl Marx with an X. The Great Depression trying to stop, drop the anthem of the proletariat. It's dark and hell is hot from our interpretive dreams of sour cream, pasteurized while counting sheep, sipping milk and honey, and the land of the free. Medicare ventilating our last breath till death. And so that poem for me really signifies what on a personal, on a social, societal, national, and international state of being that we went through these past roughly 13, 14 months. And it all came spilling out probably about 2 months ago. So for a whole year, I was trying myself to process what was happening to us. And finally, I was blessed with the opportunity to just really, put it to the page. So, I mean, that's the poem I've written lately. The second verse on police brutality was recorded by the Hartford Foundation, a video with Collab that is out there and so forth. And so that's what I'm doing, City Council. I'm out here on the grind, really trying to be a voice for myself and for the voiceless and all of us. If you have any suggestions, ideas, comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to email me at hartfordpoetlaureate@gmail or on my website. Well, I got a phone number, but 222-5524. And whatever you want to do, whatever you need, just let me know, and I'll do my best to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. You didn't give us an opportunity to applaud. Good job.
Oh, so applaud yourselves, all of us, for going through this year, and we're still here, and the human spirit is enduring, and we're going to endure and take care of each other. So I applaud you as well. Thank you. And you guys are taking care of Hartford, so I applaud you for that. Thank you. God bless. Peace.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. That was a great presentation. And now, Councilwoman Bermudez has the floor for a point of privilege. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Thank you. Point of personal privilege to be able to hear from Janet Bauer with CREA, Commission on Refugees.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Bermudez, and to all the honorable City Council members and guests. The Commission for Refugee and Immigrant Affairs is really grateful for the opportunity to present very briefly some of our recommendations on behalf of immigrant and refugee residents. An estimated 22% of Hartford's population, who for the most part want the same things as every other resident: food, security, housing, education, work, transportation, insurance, but who often face very distinctive challenges in accessing those resources, despite a very large number of nonprofit organizations who are working to fill the gap. CREA bylaws require us to produce a biannual report on immigrants and refugees in Hartford, as well as an annual report of our activities. In 2020, we submitted our biannual report with 10 overarching recommendations that were shaped by our analysis of the following: CREA's own needs assessment survey, Hartford census data, the 2016 report of the White House Task Force on New Americans, the 2008 Brown Report on Resettlement, which was commissioned for the City of Hartford, and an audit of changing local conditions, including national immigration policies, local economic conditions, and the work of voluntary organizations in the area. In our annual report of 2020, we set up an agenda for this year, 2021, to more fully develop the 10 recommendations in the biannual report by issuing targeted statements after holding individual and focus group discussions with a variety of community organizations and stakeholders. So what I'm going to briefly do is just summarize our most recent targeted statement on information precarity and translation, and then our 10 recommendations in the biannual report. First, in our most recent statement on information precarity and translation, we recommend the translation of critical information in 6 languages in addition to English and Spanish. That's Haitian Creole, Arabic, French, Burmese, Karen, Swahili, and Portuguese. We see an urgent need for providing information in those languages on the following matters that affect immigrant and refugees in Hartford. First, COVID testing, and COVID vaccines. Second, know your rights. Third, accessing assistance in negotiating improved housing conditions with landlords. Fourth, domestic violence hotline numbers and access to alternative housing for survivors. Fifth, information on schooling, particularly how to navigate remote learning and access to other educational options. And sixth, clear directions on how to access the language line option on the 211 message. This advisory contributes to the development of the second of our 10 biannual report recommendations, which are: first, to address anti-immigrant narratives; second, to develop a comprehensive outreach network to newcomers and stakeholders through which to communicate critical information in multiple languages; third, to designate a specific office to coordinate the many community organizations and nonprofits that provide immigrant and refugee services. And this, I think, is really critical, both because stakeholders and community organizations feel a need to have better communication among themselves and the city, and because I've heard accidentally this afternoon that Hartford will be welcoming about 100 new refugees this year or within the next fiscal year. To enhance programs, this is number 4, to enhance programs providing one-on-one integration assistance, that is mentoring, cultural brokering, with a focus on programs for youth and families, including intentional assistance in understanding and navigating the racial landscape of Greater Hartford. 5th, to recognize and support Hartford Public Library and its branches as immigration service hubs. 6th, to encourage NRZs to enhance their engagement and interaction with resident newcomers in their neighborhoods, especially around housing and employment needs. 7th, to consider options for immigrant civic engagement, including non-citizen voting in local elections, which I understand is something that the Charter Commission would have to take up with the state to even begin considering. 8, to enhance support for immigrant entrepreneurship. 9, to build collaborative alliances across the Greater Hartford area with those entities that support immigrants and refugees. As many immigrant residents of Hartford work outside the city, and a number of voluntary organizations located in the suburbs are providing services for Hartford immigrants and refugees. So we see this regional collaboration as important. And 10th is to provide more support to our commission, especially in producing a useful biannual report. We are all volunteers. Our numbers have been reduced from 17 active members to 4 active members, and we really need your help in recruiting more applicants for the commission to be commission members in order to draw on the broader range of immigrant communities in Hartford and improve our work. So in sum, our recommendations are focused on coordination of existing resources and communication between the city and newcomers, between the city and the various stakeholders, nonprofits and community organizations, between the city and regional partners, and between the city and the state. And we urge the City Council to act on the recommendations in our biannual report and our targeted statements as we complete them. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. So I cede the floor back to Councilwoman Bermudez.
Councilwoman Bermudez, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, yeah. Just giving her back to the council president. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you all. And now I am going to give the floor back to Mr. Majority Leader. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we place these items on the consent calendar. Item number 3, Mayor Bronin with the company resolution authorizing the City of Hartford's Department of Health and Human Services to receive funding from Trinity Health of New England. Item number 13, Quality Life and Public Safety Committee with the company resolution authorizing the city to accept a fiscal year 2019 Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, in the amount of $185,614 from the United States Department of Justice. Item number 14, Quality Life and Public Safety Committee meeting with the company resolution authorizing the city to accept a fiscal year 2019 Homeland Security RILO in the amount of Homeland Security grant in the amount of $60,000 from the State Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Item number 15, Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee with the company resolution confirming the appointments of Philip Wellman to the Hartford Stadium Authority. Item number 16, Operations, Management, Budget, and Government Accountability with the company resolution authorizing the City of Hartford and the Hartford Police Union to enter into an agreement to address in part the significant disparities in pay between the City of Hartford and other cities and towns throughout Connecticut, which has contributed to retention challenges for the Hartford Police Department. Item number 23, resolution supporting of legislation by the legislature of the state of Connecticut during the present legislative session to allow municipalities to the opportunity to provide a system for the electronic return ballot of a, the electronic return of a ballot via smartphone, tablet, and other electronic device by any person that is described as an absentee elector as defined by the Uniform and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, or as a person with a disability as defined by the Americans with Disability Act. Item number 26. Resolution that the Court of Common Council authorize the West Indian Social Club to utilize the outdoor sound system on the following dates and times to further enhance its recognition and celebrations during the West Indian Celebration Week in the city of Hartford. And item number 27, a resolution having Albany Northeast and Blue Hills Revitalization Zone committees in partnership with the Artists Collective Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner to have a cultural arts festival on Saturday, July 24th.
Second the motion?
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I make the motion that we receive the following items. Item number 4, Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee communication concerning a request that the Director of the Department of Emergency Services and Telecommunications, along with Hartford's Chief Operating Officer, provide an updated report at the next scheduled Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee meeting in the Assistant to Firefighter Grant. Item number 5, Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee meeting communication requesting that the Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee of the Court of Common Council take up at its next meeting the question of what recommendations to make, if any, concerning the impending renegotiation of the police union contract labor between the Hartford Police Union and the City of Hartford. Item number 6, Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee communication concerning summer youth employment for the City of Hartford. Item number 7, Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee communication concerning a request that the Court of Common Council review the existing holiday schedule as is described in Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 7, Section 392 of the Hartford City Code and city labor contracts and other practices to determine whether how to include Juneteenth as a city holiday. Item number 8, Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee communication concerning the appointment of Leticia Marulunda to the Internal Audit Commission on council as council's designated appointee. Item number 9, Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee communication concerning an update by David Jakubowski from affiliates Mac State Square LLC and FPE State Square LLC. Item number 10, Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee communication concerning the reappointment of Ted C. as council's appointee to the Internal Audit Commission. Item number 11, Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee communication concerning the City of Hartford to enter into a 10-year tax abatement agreement with Zion Park MF2 LLC to support affordable rental housing located at 602 and 608 Zion Street, 833, 841, 851, and 863 Park Street, Hartford, Connecticut 06106, known as Zion Park Apartments. And item number 12, Operations Management, Government, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee communication discharging a resolution from committee to be placed on the agenda for council's action.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we refer the following items to the following committees. Item number 1, to the Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee. Mayor Brony with accompanying resolution authorizing the transfer to the suspense book of $1,094,913.44 in outstanding delinquent personal property taxes for tax bills that the tax collector has certified as unlikely to be collected. Item number 21, as well to the Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee, which is proposed ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 2-350 of the Municipal Code with a hearing date of Monday, July 19th at 7 p.m. And item number 25, a resolution requesting that June 19th shall be recognized each year as Juneteenth Freedom, Independence, Emancipation Day in the city of Hartford, and through its Office of Equity and Opportunity, continue to explore multiple ways in which Hartford can advance justice and equity for all its residents. Item number 2, to the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee. To Mayor Brony with the company resolution confirming the reappointments of Carl Williams, Craig Mergens as at-large representatives, and appointment of Jose Camacho as the representative of Heaven Skate Park for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, which is known as PRAC. Item number 24, to the Public Dedication Committee and to the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee, which is a resolution to approve superimpose the name of Dr. Craig J. Yenny, PhD, on Vernon Street at the intersection of Vernon and Plymouth to be displayed henceforth as Dr. Craig J. Yenny, PhD, which also has a hearing date of Monday, July 19th at 7 p.m.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Sanchez?
Yes. Just for our audience and ourselves, can the majority leader, and through you, Madam President, can the majority leader read the last referral? There's someone on with a phone that is not muted. Couldn't hear it.
That's me, Councilman Sanchez. We have new computers here, and I haven't worked out the technical difficulties, so I'm on the phone.
Madam President, would you like for me to read it again?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what Councilman Sanchez asked for.
His request, because of the interference, was to read the last referral item.
Oh, you didn't hear them, Councilman Sanchez? Did everyone else hear them? For Councilman Sanchez,
I'll read it if it's,
thank you.
I didn't hear it.
okay. Item number 24, to the Building Dedication Committee and to the Parks, Public Works, and Recreation and Environment Committee, which is a resolution requesting to approve superimposing the name of Dr. Craig J. Yenny, PhD Way on Vernon Street at the intersection of Summit and Vernon to be displayed henceforth as Dr. Craig J. Yenny, PhD Way, which has a hearing date of Monday, July 19th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
The motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Mitchum?
Thank you, Madam President. I would just ask that my name be added to that last motion concerning Dr. Yenny.
I ask that my name be added to all of the referrals that have not had my name on them. Councilwoman Bermudez?
Yes, I also asked that my name be added to item number 24. Craig and I attended Trinity together, and so I would like to make sure to honor who he was. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bermudez. Is there any other further discussion? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we take action on item 17, which is Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to waive building permits related fees on a major public housing renovation being undertaken by the Hartford, by the Housing Authority of the City of Hartford at 5 locations: Mary Shepherd Place, 275-293 Bellevue Street, 7-21 Sanford Street, and 123 to 125 Martin Street, and 31 to 33 Capel Street.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Mr. Clerk, I would like to recuse myself from this item. I do work for the Hartford Housing Authority.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make a motion that we take action on item number 18, which is a Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee with accompanying substitute resolution on approving the HUD Annual Action Plan for the program year 7/1/2021 to 6/30/2022. The annual plan outlines the city's intended use in year 2 of approximately $6.7 million in entitlement funds for activities funded through the CDBG, ESG, HPA, and home programs.
We can't hear you.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a note that I am on the board of Heartbeat Ensemble, and I had initially thought that meant I should recuse myself, but I conferred with Corporation Counsel, who said that no, that does not present the appearance of conflict. I'm not paid to be on the board. It's just a thing I do, but I say it prior to voting, so as everybody knows.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchum, for that clarification. Councilwoman Rossetti.
Through you, Council President, Mr. Clerk, I will be recusing myself as I am paid by a nonprofit on the CDBG list. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rossetti. Councilwoman Bermudez.
I will also be recusing myself from this item. Thank you.
Councilman Gale, did I see your hand up? Yes.
Yeah, I will not be recusing myself, but I don't know that I received. Did I understand that there's a substitute resolution? And I know I was privy to conversations earlier, but I don't recall that I got anything from the town clerk setting forth the substitute resolution. So if there is one, I just want to reference it, make sure that we're all voting on the same thing.
It was sent out, Councilman Gale, at about 6:38 today.
I can resend it to you if you didn't get it.
That would be appreciated, Mr. Town Clerk. Do I understand that this is this substitute moves about $168,000 from parks into 4 separate other buckets and moves about $10,000 from the San Juan Center to the Hispanic Health Center? Is that the amendment we're talking about?
That is correct, Councilman Gale.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Are there any other discussions? Any other discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez is or excuse herself. Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum. Councilman Mitchum.
I think he froze. Oh.
Was it me? I
You're
vote
up,
yes.
Mr.
I vote yes. I froze for a minute, but I vote yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti, you excuse herself. Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we take action on item number 19, Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee, with a company resolution authorizing the city to enter into a contractual agreement with Parkville Senior Center for the operation of the Parkville Senior Center and Catholic Charities for the operations of the Hispanic Senior Center.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk. Councilman LeBron.
Yes, I'd like to recuse myself from this item as I am employee of Catholic Charities, so.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we take action on item number 20, Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee, with the company resolution authorizing the annual submission of the list of community programs eligible for the 2021 Connecticut Neighborhood Assistance Act NAA Tax Credit Program to the Connecticut Department of Revenue Services, DRS.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Councilwoman Rossetti.
I again will be recusing myself from this, Mr. Clerk, for you, Council
Thank you.
President.
I will also be recusing myself, Mr. Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman LeBron.
Madam President, through you, I'm recusing myself from this item as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman LeBron. Mr. Town Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Madam President, through you, I'd like to make the motion that we take action on item number 22, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointments of department head requirements, Section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Gale.
Thank you, Madam President. I have an amendment to put forward at this time. And I'll read the amendment into the record. I move that we amend the proposed ordinance by striking the existing subsection C from the text of the ordinance as printed with this calendar, and and we replace it with the following language. Subsection C, notwithstanding the requirements established in Section A above, the mayor may request from the Court of Common Council a waiver of the bona fide residency requirement by resolution for directors of the following departments: Management, Budget and Grants, Metro Innovation Services, Emergency Services and Telecommunications, and Finance, provided that prior to making such a request for any individual for whom the mayor requests a waiver of the residency requirement, the open position shall have been publicly posted and advertised for a period of not less than 1 month, shall have been actively promoted on public message boards, city newsletters, city website, and social media accounts, as well as through the neighborhood revitalization zones, and the mayor shall interview any applicants who are Hartford residents and who have been deemed to meet the eligibility requirements for these positions prior to requesting the waiver. a resolution by the Court of Common Council granting the waiver of bona fide residency requirement at the request of the mayor shall specify the means by which the open position was made known to the public and the nature of the technical knowledge or specific training, experience, or certification required to effectively perform the responsibilities of the position. The waiver of these requirements of Section A may be granted by a majority of the council members present and voting, as well as adding a new subsection D. The maximum salary for any department head for whom the residency requirement is waived pursuant to subsection C shall be reduced by 10% from that set forth in the applicable pay scale. The maximum salary will no longer be subject to said reduction if the department head ultimately establishes Hartford residency as defined in subsection A and provides proper notice to the Department of Human Resources and Labor Relations. And Madam President, I have provided a copy of this text to the town clerk. Thank you.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded by Councilman Mitchum. Councilman Mitchum, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a word on this new version of the change to the residency requirement. And I speak for myself and for Councilwoman Bermudez. We had opposed the change, and our feeling was that not enough was being done actually, that we had a lot more talent and a lot more people who could do a lot of work in the city who were being looked over a lot of the time on the basis of sort of traditional channels of privilege and higher education, and we were maybe passing folks over and not really engaging in a serious search. And I got on board for this amendment. We got on board for this amendment because it limits those folks who can be hired from outside to a much narrower group who have, it's like if you think of someone who really knows city finance, that's a small universe of people in the world. So it limits who can come from outside, and it makes the city do a transparent hiring process. And it gives this body the ability to hold the mayor to account to make sure that he has really done a competitive and transparent hiring process and made efforts to find city residents who can do the work. So because of those changes, we are supporting this bill after all. We think it's a fair compromise that hopefully will give Hartford residents more opportunities.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchum. Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam President. I also would like to include that this was something that was worked with the mayor to come with, as Councilman Mitchum has stated, as a compromise and a good start to work towards what we feel would be a more suitable policy for the city of Hartford. Also, too, notwithstanding that if it does not go well, we do have the ability to come back to the table to offer up amendments to this policy, which is a directive from this body. I also want to include that we set forth a special public hearing date for this item once the roll calls are taken for July 7th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Councilman LeBron.
Yes, through you, Madam President. I have a question for Corporation Counsel. The question is this is scheduled for a hearing date, and so we're moving it to July 7th. In terms of processes, we can vote on this prior to a hearing date?
Through you, Council President, there would be nothing to hear if this amendment is not adopted tonight. So if there is an affirmative vote on this amendment, then it would automatically be republished as required by charter and heard at on the public hearing that the council majority leader announced of July 7th.
Thank you very much, Corporation Counsel. May I continue, Madam President?
You have the floor, Councilman LeBron.
Thank you very much. So this has caused a lot of consternation in our community and a lot of thought process. So I want to just state my belief and why I'm going to be voting for the way that I am. So I think first and foremost, I believe that employees should live in the city and live within it. I understand that there is potential qualified candidates to pass on positions because of residency requirement, but I more strongly believe that the right candidates would stay. How can we expect employees to care about our city if they don't care to live in it? The residency clause change hits home for me as someone who was passed over for positions in the city by non-residents. The current residency requirements helps to prevent what happened to me from happening to other residents and constituents applying for higher positions, and that our city is ultimately not neglected. As an elected official, I made a choice to live in Hartford, send my children to school in Hartford, and I believe so should our appointed leaders. If we begin to allow these certain leadership positions to forego the residency requirement, we would be opening a Pandora's box for other positions wanting the same. What we really need to consider is how do we grow and retain our talent pool from within our constituent body, rather than creating policy that supports the pillaging of our high-income positions by the surrounding towns. We need to create policies that enrich our residents and communities through internal hires instead of beta testing with this position and voting on it later. Not only will this increase morale by instituting a career growth plan, but it would also increase institutional knowledge and competency to further serve our constituents. Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me to have the floor. I will be voting no on this resolution.
Thank you, Councilman LeBron. And I just going to piggy off what Councilman Mixtum and Councilman Clark said. For the record, this is an ordinance. Ordinance can be changed at any time if the changes that are made, council believes, with the public's input, that it's not working. Like Councilman Clark said, this has had a lot of conversations back and forth with the administration, and we're going to see how that goes. With that said, I also want to thank my council colleagues who are taking a step forward in trying this out. I know that long extended conversations have taken place, so I thank you for that. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Thank you. Through you, Council President, I just wanted to mention that I will be supporting the amendment for all the reasons that Councilman Mixtum has described. And so thank you, Councilman Gale, for introducing the amendment to this ordinance. I too am someone who's lived in Hartford my entire life, attended public schools here from kinder all the way to high school, stayed here for college, raised my family here. But I am in support of those amendments that have been put forth tonight. And another food for thought, our mayor, there was mention a little earlier of making sure that our elected officials or those who are elected in Hartford live in the city and also send their kids here. But I mean, that's not true for everybody, right? Like our mayor has kids who don't attend our Hartford Public Schools, but I am definitely in support of this amendment. So food for thought. I mean, I did not run, I did not run on the Democratic side, but just something to consider along in terms of the argument being said.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Surgeon.
Through you, Madam President, I am also in support of the amendment that was offered by Councilman Gale. In the beginning, when the mayor originally, it's something been over a year now, had submitted this ordinance for consideration. It's been over a year of back and forth and negotiating with the president, with the mayor regarding, what is best for the employees in the city. I totally agree with Councilman LeBron regarding that we have made choices. We have chose to live in the city. We have chose to work within the city. But what is the good thing about what the mayor and the Councilman Gale has come up with is a limited, much more narrow group of offices. For example, the IT department, for example, our budget and finance. So those are very specialty skills. which I'm not saying we don't have residents in the city, but one of the things I do agree with the amendment is that this is going to give the mayor an opportunity, to do a little wider search. But I do hope, and I have told him that, first and foremost is looking for residents in the city to fill these positions. After that, if you are unable to, and pursuant to the amendment that Councilman Gale listed, there is a great opportunity for the mayor to make sure that he goes to the appropriate location looking for employees. So I'm going to support this resolution, knowing that the mayor and the council has come to a reasonable conclusion to doing this. And I think that's what we're here for. We're here to make, the best decision, but we're also here to make compromise. It's not everyone is right or wrong. But what I feel I'm making the decision is to best support a compromise, which the mayor actually stepped up to the plate. He wanted the entire appointed position, to be exempt. But I know with this narrow group of specialty offices, I really think the mayor stepped up to the plate and gave us an opportunity to try something different and to see if it works. I agree with you, Council President, that if it's not working, we still have 2 years as elected officials. And so we can always go back and review and see the steps the mayor has taken and who he has appointed. And don't forget, we as a council person do review the positions that the mayor is going to bring in front of us. So we still also have an opportunity to agree or disagree with the mayor regarding the appointed position as department heads. So again, I am going to support this resolution, and I commend the mayor for working with the council for reasonable adoption of this ordinance.
Thank you, Councilwoman Surgeon. Are there any discussions? Any other discussions? Councilman Mitchum?
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I wanted to respond to Councilman LeBrun because I think his point is well made about the message we send, and then also what Councilwoman Surgeon said is that at the end of the day, we vote on every appointment, right? Even before this, we voted on every appointment, and I hope that all of us will, maybe more now, remember that we can vote no, and we don't just have to vote no because the person before us isn't perfectly qualified, right? We can vote no because we don't like the process by which they were hired, I mean to say, right? I mean, we can say there was no competitive hiring here, so however nice this person is, we don't want him. Or we can say, we don't think you reached out enough to find Hartford residents, and so on that basis, we vote no. So I hope that all of us will carry that forward and hold the mayor's feet to the fire on those questions, because I think we'll end up with better folks leading our departments if we do that.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchum. Councilman Gale.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to add, I certainly second the comments that have been made by all my colleagues, including Councilman LeBron. And I want to say to Councilman LeBron that I will work tirelessly with you and with the rest of us to try to create that pipeline that brings that talent here to Hartford. I can tell you that I go back to the 1980s when Carrie Saxon Perry was elected mayor of the city of Hartford, and her platform at that time was called Hartford First. And the goal was then, and it's been carried through every year since then, was hire Hartford people first if they qualify. And we've been working and continue to work, and I will continue to work towards that goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. And before we go to the vote, I just want to thank my colleagues from the Working Party on the Record and the Hartford Party for coming to the table and making this decision to move this ordinance forward. Again, to the mayor, thank you for meeting us at this compromise. And with that said, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
No.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
No.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And before we adjourn our meeting this.
Point of order, Madam President. I
Yes.
think we just voted on the amendments,
Yes, that is correct.
just to make sure. We still have to vote on the thing
Uh,
now that it's amended.
Right.
Mr. Corporation Counsel, could you give us clarity on the questions presented?
Sure, through you, Council President. Now that the council has amended, passed the amendment, which is substantive in nature, it is automatically republished as an ordinance and set for public hearing, as I said before, which was announced by Councilman Clark for 7 p.m. on July 7th.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Corporation Counsel. So before we adjourn our meeting today, I would like to recognize Richard Frieder and his team to discuss this year's Hartford Decides. Mr. Frieder, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Council President. We appreciate the invitation to join you tonight for a few minutes, just give you a quick update. And I'm joined tonight by a few of our board members. We'll introduce Heather Nelson, who is one of our newer board members, and Jared Chase, who's been on the board for 2 or 3 years now, I believe, and Christina Chiligali, who's been with us almost since the beginning and is now our board president. So I'm going to turn it over to Christina to give a brief update, and the rest of us will chime in if it seems like we need to.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you very much for allowing us a couple minutes to come in and update you. And I know at the onset of the meeting, we encourage everyone to vote if you haven't, and I know that many of you have already, so thank you very much for that. The link is in the chat. It's hartforddecides.org if you haven't had a chance to go do that as of yet. We have 5 really strong projects that are there. We have the Wintergreen Garden that's come back again. They'd like to get a refresh on that. We have the Wallace Stevens Bridge. If you've gone across there lately, there's one side that really needs a bit of repair. So we're hoping that might happen. We have a tree beautification project. There are several trees that have been deemed, or several schools that have been deemed need a few more trees so students can stay cool and get out of the sun on days like this. We also have the Hartford Parks electrical box and the Colt concession mural project. You've been out and about around Hartford. There are electrical boxes that have been painted and look fantastic. I'd like to get a few more of those done. And then there are a couple walls down at Colt Park that we'd like to get some murals on. And then we have the DIY plastic recycling project. They'd like to buy a device that, I think the way we decided to explain this morning is that it takes us back to Star Trek. You bring all this plastic that needs to be recycled, you program it as to how you would like it to spit this plastic back out to you so that you can reuse it for another project, whether it be kind of a 3D printing kind of situation, or perhaps jewelry, or fill in the blank. I'm sure it could be an amazing project. So those are the 5 projects that we have on the ballot right now. Looks like Richard shared that link again. So if you haven't voted, please definitely vote. Our neighbors and the residents of Hartford have worked really hard on these projects, and we definitely want to be sure that we support them in that. As Richard mentioned, we do have some new board members that have joined us this year. Heather Nelson is one of them. Margie is another. And we've been continuing to work to expand our board. It's really a great opportunity that we have each year to come and bring residents together and see what they'd like to improve within the city. And I definitely want to be sure that we say thank you. It's my understanding we've been given 40,000 again for next fiscal year. So we're excited to bring folks back together again next year and get several more fantastic projects on the ballot for voting. All right, Godfather, did I miss anything?
They refer to me as Godfather because 10 years ago, I went to a conference in Seattle and heard about this thing called participatory budgeting, which I'd never heard of, and thought, wow, what a terrific idea, and came back to Hartford and started talking with people, and we created Hartford Decides. So yeah, they call me the Godfather, but anyhow. No, Christina, you did a great job. Just a reminder to everybody that this participatory budgeting has been around for about 30 years. It started in South America and has spread across much of the globe now. And it's entirely community driven. All of these project ideas came from residents, and they developed the ideas into project proposals as you see them on the ballot. Any Hartford resident 13 years of age and up can vote, so youth are included. So we would love to get all of you to vote. As Christina said, some of you have already, and that's great. But please also, if you can, get family and friends to vote. And again, 13 years and up. So it's open to lots of folks. You do not have to be a US citizen, just be a Hartford resident. And hartforddecides.org, and the vote closes tomorrow night at midnight, at 11:59 tomorrow night, actually. So, and we really appreciate your support, and we hope to be seeing you in the future.
Wonderful, thank you, Richard. And again, how can our residents vote?
Go to hartforddecides.org. Now, I'm glad you asked that, not only because it gives us a chance to repeat the link, but also we're fortunate with the timing of things opening up, with the pandemic hopefully coming to an end, although we don't know that yet. But it allowed us to do some in-person voting. We were, in the first couple of years of Hartford Decides, it was almost entirely in-person voting, which really is what we want to do because we want to be out there interacting with people in the community. But of course, last year and this year, we've had to rely mostly on online voting. But because things opened up in the past few weeks, we were able to go out in the past week or two to about half a dozen places, a few library branches, a couple of food pantries, the Y on Albany Avenue, and I'm forgetting a couple, I think. But so we've been able to do a lot of in-person voting and interact with Hartford residents. The last in-person voting is tomorrow at the Campfield Branch Library. I believe it's at, Heather, you're going to that. Do you remember what time? Is it 1 to 3? 1 to 3? Okay, great. So at the Campfield Branch Library tomorrow will be the last in-person voting. But anybody can vote at hartforddecides.org.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Christina, for that update, and your team. Great work that Hartford Decides does. So with that said, everyone be safe, enjoy this beautiful weather, and this meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.